What's up, guys? I'm Pierce from SnappyData. Today I'm going to show you a new feature on our website called CloudBuilder. So to get there, you just go to our top level navigation and click Cloud, and that will take you to essentially this one-stop form where you can easily spin up a SnappyData cluster on Amazon Web Services. Just to note, they run on Amazon EC2 and they use Amazon CloudFormation to spin up the cluster. You can obviously get much more detailed instructions by going here. But just to start, so the first option you're given is whether or not to pick the community version or the enterprise version. The community version is free, but it limits you to one server. So in the community version, essentially you can pick any server you want and you'll pay for the server, but you won't pay for SnappyData itself. I'm going to show you the enterprise version today because there's a few more options to go through. So the first thing you want to decide is whether or not you want to make locators and leads highly available. So there's essentially three logical server types inside a SnappyData instance. There's the main data servers, which do all the heavy lifting, and then there's the locators and leads, which manage things like coordination and like the Spark driver, for example. Now, in your typical Spark deployment, the Spark driver itself is not highly available, so that was one thing we wanted to change with SnappyData. So we give you the option here of making these highly available, and if you want to learn more about what these are, you just click on the What's This link and you can read a lot more here. So I'm going to leave them not highly available for now. The next option is to pick how much memory and disk you want for your entire cluster. So you can just slide the slider here, and disk will automatically jump up to 3 times recommended, although you still can change it if you want to. I'm going to leave it back at the default, which I think is 50. To learn more on best practices for memory and disk, you just click this link and learn quite a bit more. Now, step 4 is where we actually recommend a cluster to you. So based on your choices up here and your choices here, and also the choices here, which I'll explain, we develop this list of instances and we sort them by lowest price. So now the first thing I can do is I can add servers to support high availability. This is for the data servers themselves. So if I want my data to be highly available, I would select that. And essentially what that'll do is just add a number of nodes for high availability. So you can see them changing there. And then, do your workloads have high query volumes? So what this does is it shows some compute-heavy instances for high query volume workloads. To learn a little bit more about what constitutes high query volumes, you can go to this link. For now, I'm just going to leave it on our basic instance here, the M4X large 5-node deployment. Oh, also you can edit the amount of nodes you want. So if for whatever reason I want to go up to 10 here, I can just go to 10 and you can see everything automatically changes. So we'll just put it back at 5. And then you just enter your email. Oops. And click Generate. Now this is going to take you to one last step where you select which AWS region you want to launch in. This region should match whatever key pair you have in AWS. Mine's in Northern California, so I'm going to use that. We also have some notes about what is generated once you launch the cluster. So I'll go ahead and launch it. This will take you to a CloudFormation page. If you're not logged into AWS automatically, it'll first ask for a login. But from here, you don't really need to do anything. It just shows where the JSON file is coming from that's generating the cluster. Just hit Next, and you'll create a stack name. And I'll select my key pair and my VPC ID. These will obviously be different for you. Nothing really that you need to select here. So just hit next. This is a review of everything you just did. So we'll hit create. Now this is kind of confusing at first because it doesn't immediately show up. What you have to do is click this little refresh button over here in the upper right hand corner. You can see there it showed up, and from there you can click on it and actually see the events that are occurring. So as I click refresh, you can see them pop up. Now this takes about 5 to 10 minutes, so I've already created one, so we can just keep going. And I'll show you. So that's this one right here, PLM Screencast. Now when it's done creating, what you'll want to do is click on the Outputs tab, and what it'll give you is this Apache Zeppelin URL. So I'll just click that. Now Apache Zeppelin is sort of this front-end UI for running code, running queries on like a back-end data product. We've packaged it with SnappyData here so people can easily get started with sort of a notebook view to SnappyData. This gives you a basic overview of SnappyData. What you'll probably want to do first is run the quick start. So I'll open that. And just to note, if something pops up right here at the top that asks you for an interpreter binding between SnappyData and Spark, just make sure that SnappyData comes first. You can just click and drag it and then hit save. I'll also note this in the first paragraph here, we have a link to the Pulse UI. So this is the actual Pulse instance for the cluster I just spun up on AWS. It's very similar to the Spark UI, and it just gives you a lot of the same information the Spark UI does. So you can look at jobs, stages of jobs, SQL that's been run. You can look at config stuff, etc. And so instead of dragging this video on and running each paragraph here, I'll just leave that up to you guys. Just to note, any paragraph that's collapsed, you can open with this button and see the code that's getting run, and you just hit the play button to actually run code. So that's the quick start. There's also a number of, so there's a performance benchmark notebook. We have an NYC taxi analytics demo notebook. We have an airline on time data analytics demo notebook. So there's a lot to play with here. So just dig into it. At the end here, we let you know about our community. So we have a number of ways to get in touch with us. Slack is probably the most popular. So that's the one you should use if you like Slack. But yeah, hopefully this helps. We hope that you'll check out CloudBuilder and come talk to us in our community channels.